Viktor Frankl drew a careful distinction between two levels of meaning. The first is the ordinary, personal meaning that logotherapy is primarily concerned with, the specific tasks, relationships, and commitments that give an individual life its particular direction and value. These are concrete, situational, and uniquely personal. Every person's meaning is different, and Frankl's therapeutic work was largely devoted to helping individuals discover this personal dimension. But he also spoke of a second, entirely different level, what he called supra-meaning, the ultimate meaning of existence as a whole, the cosmic significance that would explain not just why your life matters but why there is a life at all, why there is something rather than nothing, why the universe has the character it does. This level of meaning, Frankl acknowledged, is beyond the reach of human reason to fully comprehend. We can gesture toward it. We can orient ourselves in its direction. But we cannot grasp it the way we might grasp a personal task or a relational commitment. Supra-meaning, if it exists, exceeds the container of the human mind. And yet Frankl insisted on its importance, for two reasons. The first reason is clinical. There are moments in human life, particularly in the face of unavoidable suffering or the approach of death, when personal meanings feel insufficient. A person dying of cancer who has found personal meaning in relationships and creative work may still confront the deeper question: does any of this ultimately matter? Is the whole thing pointing toward something? Or does it disappear into silence? These questions are real, and they deserve more than dismissal. Frankl's logotherapy always tried to meet the patient where they actually were, and where many people actually are, at least at certain moments, is at the edge of the question of ultimate meaning. The second reason is philosophical. Frankl made an argument by analogy that he knew was not conclusive but that he found genuinely compelling. The human eye, he observed, evolved in a world that actually has light. The capacity for sight corresponds to something real. Similarly, the human being has an undeniable capacity for asking ultimate questions, about meaning, about purpose, about transcendence. Why would this capacity exist if there were nothing it corresponded to? Why would the question arise at all in a universe that had no answer for it? This is not a proof of God. Frankl was scrupulous about this. He was not offering a metaphysical demonstration. He was making an existential observation. The fact that human beings ask these questions, that they cannot not ask them, seems to be evidence that the questions are not merely projections of wishful thinking but responses to something real about the structure of existence. Frankl's own relationship to religion was complex and personal. He was Jewish by birth and commitment, and the Holocaust had tested his faith in ways that he described honestly and without resolution. He emerged from the camps with something that was not conventional religious faith but also not atheism, a position more like openness, a refusal to deny the transcendent dimension even when it could not be clearly affirmed. In therapy, he took care not to impose his own views. A patient who found supra-meaning within a religious tradition was supported in that. A patient who was unable to believe in a personal God might be gently invited to consider whether there was any dimension of existence that seemed to them larger than themselves, any experience of beauty, of love, of conscience, that carried something of the absolute. The point was not agreement on content but orientation toward the dimension itself. What supra-meaning offers, practically, is a quality of trust in the face of the incomprehensible. A person who can say, even tentatively, even without certainty, that the suffering I cannot understand may be part of something I cannot see, has a different relationship to that suffering than someone for whom the darkness is simply final. This is not denial. It is not toxic positivity. It is the existential courage to remain oriented toward a meaning that exceeds one's current comprehension. Subscribe to the Psychology of Viktor Frankl to explore more of his timeless ideas.